Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum teman-teman semua yang ada di Cerita Untung. Terima kasih untuk supportnya hari ini. Oke, saya sekarang di sini sendirian, tapi sebenarnya berdua dengan Mimi. Tapi Mimi karena mau ada live lagi, jadi kita tempat berbeda, tapi hati masih sama, gitu ya. Nah teman-teman semuanya, ya terima kasih untuk support, kritik dan saran. Tapi sekarang ini kita punya tamu yang masya Allah luar biasa, karena ini kita bersilangan gitu ya antara beberapa negara. Sebelumnya kita akan tampilkan video profil dari tamu kita berikut ini. Ini dia.
Assalamualaikum teman-teman Cerita Untungs. Cerita Untungs kali ini berkesempatan sharing bareng Julien dan Zara. Pasangan Prancis Malaysia ini kisahnya tidak kalah inspiratif loh.
I was in a taxi in Abu Dhabi. I was listening to the radio and the Quran was playing. I didn't know it was the Quran. And I told the taxi driver, what is this music? It's touching my heart. And he said, it's not the music, it's the Quran.
Julien dulunya adalah seorang musisi jazz dan Zara adalah seorang wanita karir. Mereka memutuskan untuk melepaskan karir mereka dan membuat usaha bersama. Julien dan Zara dalam perjalanan dakwahnya membuat sebuah film dokumenter dengan melibatkan 50 mualaf dari 25 negara. Makin bikin penasaran kan? Seperti apa sih mereka sebenarnya? Yuk saksikan kisah mereka hanya di Cerita Untungs.
Iya itu dia, gitu. Tapi saya mau menyapa dulu istri saya di diem dari tadi. Assalamualaikum Mi.
Waalaikumsalam Pipi. Alhamdulillah hari ini kita nggak bisa bareng di satu tempat, tapi karena memang kita ada pekerjaan masing-masing. Jadi Mas Ari masih di kantor, terus aku juga sekarang masih ada di rumah karena ada pekerjaan di rumah. Jadi hari ini kita akan ngobrol-ngobrol nih dengan pasangan yang Masya Allah banget. Kita tuh bisa dibilang baru kenal kayak bisa 1-2 bulan ini ya. Tapi rasanya tuh kayak udah lama banget kenalnya. Karena mereka ini pasangan yang humble banget gitu. Cuma selalu seru gitu. Jadi udah humble, seru, dan benar-benar kita banyak banget kisah inspirasi yang bisa kita dapetin dari pasangan.
Iya, dan latar belakang mereka yang satu penyanyi Prancis, yang satu wanita karir Malaysia. Mereka bertemu dan membuat satu media namanya Halis Media Nusantara gitu ya. Dan pergerakannya luar biasa sampai kemudian ada hubungan kerjasama dengan Kesultanan Turki. Ini Masya Allah. Sekarang kita akan ketemu sama pasangan ini langsung. Bonjour Julien.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum everyone.
Assalamualaikum Julien Zara.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, how are you guys?
Baik. Apa kabar kata Julien?
Apa kabar saudara-saudara di Indonesia? Saudara-saudari.
Apa kabar? Nah, ini menarik ya karena kalian juga berasal dari culture yang berbeda, dari latar belakang yang berbeda gitu ya. Dan dua negara yang berbeda, profesi yang berbeda. Ini benar-benar mix culture, mix background, everything gitu ya. Bisa jelasin ya kalian di mana ketemunya? How you guys met?
Kali pertama kita berjumpa di Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Sebenarnya jadinya Julien lepas dia masuk Islam, memeluk Islam sudah 2 tahun. Maknanya dia memeluk Islam secara sendiri, bukan sebab nak kahwin atau apa-apa macam tu. Jadi lepas 2 tahun dia memeluk Islam di Philippines.
Oh, Masya Allah.
Nah, lepas 2 tahun dia rasa macam duduk negara yang bukan majoritinya Islam agak susah sebagai seorang Muslim yang baru khususnya kan. Jadi dia pun berhijrah ke Malaysia. Ya, so kita orang kami berjumpa di konferensi ya. Konferensi di Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Kita berjumpa hanya 3 kali. Lepas tu
3 kali? Okay.
3 kali jumpa.
And then
terus kahwin.
Oh, 3 kali ketemu langsung menikah mereka, Mas.
3 kali ketemu, tanya Julien masa tu dia datang sama laptop terus siap 100 soalan. 100 soalan untuk tanya kepada bakal isterinya. Jadi dia pun tanya saya 100 soalan, kita sama-sama jawab soalan tu just untuk kita check are we on the same page on most things, especially with regards to Islam, how we practice Islam and all those things. So we went through the question sama-sama 100 soalan. Lepas tu alhamdulillah terus dia pergi, masa tu bapa saya bekerja di Jeddah. Bapa saya kapten pilot juruterbang, jadinya dia bawa flight untuk umrah dengan Hajj masa tu. So masa tu bapa saya di Jeddah dan Julien sebab dia dah okey nak kahwin, dia fly ke Jeddah untuk ambil izin.
Oh, Masyaallah.
It was already planned.
Berarti bisa dibilang Julien khusus untuk ke Jeddah karena minta izin untuk menikah dengan kamu gitu ya?
Iya.
Masya Allah. What make you so sure she's your destiny, Julien?
What makes you think she was your destiny? So when I met him, first time when I saw him, I felt a sense of familiarity. Macam pernah jumpa, macam tu, macam kenal, macam soul. Katanya macam soulmate orang kata kan. So I tahu bila orang kata dulu kan, orang kata oh bila you jumpa you akan tahu. Kita masa tu kita orang macam bila orang cakap macam tu saya pun macam annoying lah. I don't understand what do you mean when you know gitu. Macam annoying kan bila orang cakap macam tu. Tapi sebenarnya memang macam tu. Memang begitu. So bila jumpa tu kita rasa macam kenal sudah lama. Dan itulah kalau dah jodohkan maksudnya kita dah bersama di jannah lah. Jadi sebab itulah kita bila berjumpa tu you just kenal balik.
You try to learn French.
Yes. No, Julien was saying he became Muslim the same time I learned French. I took French without knowing his French. I don't know him. I just took it because I felt in my heart to take French. And then Julien converted the same time, but we only met 2 years after in a conference. And
another thing that was amazing is the Ramadan. You know, because Ari was asking me what was the sign. Talk about it. When my first Ramadan, we were in the same masjid for itikaf, but we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
So
when we first even
Julien, you were a famous singer at that moment, some years back. What makes you choose Islam at that moment? Why Islam? Who introduced Islam to you anyway?
Yeah, I was in the Philippines, which is a very big Christian country, so there was not so many Muslims. I never met a Muslim in the Philippines, but I was doing music, but I had some time to check online, and I realized there was some stuff that was a bit off in terms of 9/11. I think a lot of converts, they gravitate around that because the official story is a bit dubious. So I started to realize the Muslims are actually not the bad guys. They're actually oppressed most of the time around the world. And the main thing is I watched a lot of documentaries, and suddenly I started to realize the Quran is the word of God. Is untouched. I mean, it has not been changed. So that's what made me convinced. And again, a lot of signs. You know, I'm someone who operates by sign. So I married my wife Zara through many signs. Like it was so obvious she was the one. The same thing. It was so obvious Islam was the truth. And when you start to dig a bit further, you realize that you don't have a choice if you are a truly sincere person. Once the Quran starts to pull you, it's very hard to say no. So I made my own research. It took me 6 months. And I first came back to Christianity. I wanted to baptize again. And then I realized there are a couple of things in Christianity that don't make sense to me. And I finally took my Shahada right after Ramadan 2012.
How did you find Quran is the word of God? I mean, how did you find? I mean, the core, the thing that you believe that this is the word of God.
Well, there's a lot of things that the Quran talks about that has only been discovered now. There are a lot of things that you know, it's impossible that the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu knew about these things without the help of God. You know, for example, the stages when the mother is pregnant, there are different stages. The fact that the salt sea and the river sea, they don't mix. Soft water and salty water don't mix in the ocean and things like that. So there are a lot of signs, and then there are mathematics signs. For example, Allah says earth 23 times, and He says water 23 times. He said black 50 times. He said white. So it's so perfect, and
numerology.
It has historical. There are things that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said will happen, and it happened in the future. So it's really a godly revelation. On the contrary, the Bible has a lot of scientific and historical facts that are wrong, like especially about the prophets, where in the Bible some of the prophets are portrayed as big sinners, which is not the case. You know, we believe in this. And I would say, to finish, that the thing that triggered me is most of the prophets that the Quran mentioned are the prophets we know it in the Bible. And I thought it was a totally different religion. And I realized, wait a minute, Maryam, chapter 19, Noah, all the prophets, Musa, that I know so much, Jesus, they are all mentioned in the Quran. So, I mean, it's very easy to connect the dots. You know, it's just, if you pay attention, I was blessed not to be in the rat race, 9 to 5. So I had time on my hands to really ask myself the hard question. And alhamdulillah, I became Muslim.
Mashallah, there is so many connections that probably link one another that we could find in Quran. And I mean, in what moment that you, I mean, somebody introduced you to Quran, or are you searching for Islam, or what? The first time about Islam, somebody introduced you to Quran, or you just find it, or everything, or by searching, or things like that?
You know, I was a reporter. Before being a singer, I was an international reporter. So I traveled a lot. I walked 1,000 kilometers for 30 days to try to find God in Spain. You know, it's a famous Christian pilgrim. The first time someone really told me to become Muslim, it was in a taxi in Abu Dhabi. I was listening to the radio, and the Quran was playing. I didn't know it was the Quran. And I told the taxi driver, what is this music? It's touching my heart. And he said, it's not the music, it's the Quran. And I was like, wow, it's really impressive. And he stopped the car. He's like, you know, he stopped the car. He said, brother, we've been talking for 10 minutes. He said, you're a good man, save yourself and your family from the hellfire. I will always remember. And he said that to me more than 10 years ago, and I think 15 years ago. And it was the first time someone urged me to become Muslim. And at first, I didn't take him seriously. He asked me to promise him that I will read the Quran. And I said, yeah, okay. Just, you know, but...
it would be really nice if we find that taxi driver.
Yeah.
Because he's been giving out interviews talking about this story in many, many channels. And it would be so amazing, isn't it?
Maybe we can make a film about that.
Maybe the taxi driver would be commenting, it's me.
You still know the number of the taxi driver?
No, he just dropped him off at the masjid.
You know, for me, it was just one. I didn't pay attention at the beginning, you know, and then it's only when I became Muslim, I backtracked my life. I said, okay, what Allah did to me for me to come up to that conclusion that Islam is the truth and I must become a Muslim. So this was one part. Also, many times I was working in countries like Cyprus or Tanzania, and the Azan was playing, and that also was pulling me. The Azan had a very deep connection with my soul, and I thought I was almost jealous at the Muslim, and I was like, boy, I wish I would be among you guys, but I thought it was a religion for Arabs. I really thought only Arabs practiced
until a certain point.
I was blessed to travel, you know, like once you travel, you can clearly see the truth very quickly, but if you're living in your country and just getting brainwashed by the propaganda, like most of the Western countries, well, you end up missing the point.
Yeah, I see. But I think that Allah really loves you because He gives you the code in everywhere you go. it was like the signs or everything that like Allah wants you to be a Muslim with the code a little bit, code by code. And then this is the beauty of Islam. Everybody wants to do the good deeds and do it and forget it. I mean, if you track back, I mean the first time you introduced by Quran is by a taxi driver. Then we don't know where he is now, but the pahala keep on rolling for him. Yeah, still till now. Yeah.
Since I became Muslim, I did a lot of dawah. Now, I've been calling to Islam many taxi drivers. I remember, especially the first year, every Filipino.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, Manila is like Jakarta. It's like a big traffic jam. And sometimes I stay stuck for 2 hours with a taxi driver, and he speak English like me, Filipino Christian.
One taxi driver took shahada from me.
Yeah, sometimes one taxi, but they kind of sometimes take the shahada just leave me alone. Okay, ashhadu Allah. But yeah, I mean, my driver, I had a personal driver back then. He took his shahada. Yeah. At first, I was very bullish to bring people to Islam. I'm still very bullish about it, but a little bit less because I feel like I need to clean the house first. I mean, the Muslim community is a bit messed up. So I want to kind of provide a good environment for new Muslims to come. There are a lot of dangerous ideas out there, and you know, you just have to make sure that new Muslim will come in a safety environment with the, you know, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, you know, to be on the right path within Islam, and this is what I'm more focusing right now. You know.
Yeah.
MashaAllah. And now you guys are a couple that really, I mean, have a full spirit in doing the da'wah. I'm sorry, the connection to Venita is lost. I think we try to connect again. And then how do you guys, I mean, you met each other with the same spirit from a different country, and you made some kind of a foundation, that the media foundation, they're doing the da'wah. So what is the first time that you guys do this kind of project?
Yeah. Well, the first time, you know, us as born Muslim, I think you know that Ari and Fanita were in the same camp, in the sense like we were born Muslim, and then we kind of drift off a little bit, and then we kind of discovered it back a little bit.
That's right? So we made hijrah.
We made hijrah from Jahiliyyah to a better place, alhamdulillah. So when I got married to him, I really, you know, it's like you catch on the bug of his passion for dawah and his passion for Islam, basically, because converts, they are a little bit more passionate most of the time. So then I truly understand the perspective of a convert, the perspective of a non-Muslim Westerner. What do they think? How they would react to a certain thing. So I felt, oh, okay, I should do something about it, because I felt like, because I was a singer myself, I was organizing a lot of events when I first started working, and I thought, why not I use my energy and skills for the sake of Allah.
She left the biggest company in Malaysia, Petronas, with right now if she would have stayed, she would be Twin Towers right now, but she that's why I wanted to marry her, because she was willing to sacrifice a big promising career as a mechanical engineer to work chemical engineer, and to work for NGO, a non-profit organization with a very small salary. So when I found out about that, I was like, wow, this woman is special.
And Allah rewarded me, because you know, when you make hijrah for the sake of Allah, you live in a very important job. I didn't know the pay was how it's gonna be, but I knew if I stayed, I would have earned big time. But Allah rewarded me with him.
Big time.
Thanks for everything.
Masyaallah. Teman-teman, kalau kita dengar beberapa cerita teman-teman kita mengenai hijrah dengan penuh pengorbanan, pasti selalu ada reward dan hadiah yang di luar dari ekspektasi. Ini sebagai salah satu contohnya, teman-teman semuanya. Jadi kalau teman-teman lihat episode-episode sebelumnya, pasti gitu, cobaan, dan ada reward yang luar biasa besar. Nah, sekarang kalau kita tanya lagi nih, ini menarik juga nih, Julien, why did you choose Malaysia? Why did you just doing your project, or probably your mission, your Islamic project in France?
Why Malaysia and why not another country, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was living in the Philippines for 4 years, and when I became Muslim, I looked at the map and I said where I'm going to live, because after a few months, I realized Philippines was not a good environment for me. So I looked at Turkey first, but it didn't really work out because I wanted to be closer to my family. I haven't seen my family for many years, but then I thought, I like the fact Philippines, Malaysia. So I traveled to Malaysia. I did a few projects in Malaysia, and I like the people. I thought it's not too far from Philippines. It's like an island vibe. Like an island boy type.
Yeah.
So I thought, Malaysia, they speak English. They are, the economy is quite good. So I thought I would be able to grow as a Muslim better than if I go back to France, for example, or even Turkey. And Malaysians are very welcoming people. They don't discriminate. Most of the time, they really, take you as you are. And if you have something good to bring on the table for Islam, they will listen and they will eventually support. So, alhamdulillah, I have to say that Malaysians have been supporting my projects, my ideas, and that's why I keep on coming back. Because they are. Not only Malaysians, you guys, the Indonesian as well. You guys are known for that. It's just because of the language, it's a bit harder to live in Indonesia. And I spent some big time in traffic jam in Jakarta. I was like, wow, it's worse than Manila. So I thought, wow, I can't take that stuff. But I love Indonesia. I'm a surfer. I've been in Bali many times, surfing in Uluwatu. I have a strong connection with Indonesia, but I thought
we went to Aceh.
Malaysia is a bit, many scholars who speak English, Americans, British, they are all coming in Malaysia to do conferences. There are many organizations that are set up in Malaysia, so I thought it makes more sense to live in Malaysia.
Oh, I see. Then and on the other hand, you met your wife there, yeah? So you just to. Oh, really? So you're the ancestor of the Highlander. You're the what do you call it? The ancestor of the Highlander. Mel Gibson. He's the Scottish hero, the Highlander.
Highlander. Yeah. I know it. Scottish people are very strong.
Oh, mashallah. So there is some ideas for some Indonesian about your country, France, that probably living in France as a Muslim is quite hard because it's quite Islamophobic issue that happened on the country. Well, when I was there, I think there's so many Muslims there. There's so many Muslims. We can find the huge mosque there, and then there are so many Muslim population in the Paris. Is there really happen the Islamophobic issue in France?
Yeah, you want to talk about it?
Well, we did experience a few personally ourselves, actually.
In your opinion, as a French guy, in your opinion, is it only the news, only the issue, or it happens on the media, or really happen on the real life? In your opinion?
There's always been Islamophobia. It increased in 2015 with Charlie Hebdo. There was a group of journalists who are known to make fun of Islam and other religions. And they got killed. And, Islam was blamed for this. The Muslims were blamed for this. And after that, many other incident like this happened, and of course that increased Islamophobia. I always say we had 10 small 9/11 in France in 5 years. So it's not like so impressive like 9/11, but it happens every year, and the people were starting to get very tired of it. And obviously the people who are not so educated, who don't understand much, they become Islamophobic, and at some point when you open the radio or watch TV, in 1 hour time, there was a time you can always listen someone who's going to bash Islam. So
That's true. Even me, I was shocked by the amount of you on the radio in France, like you cannot pass 1 hour without somebody coming in and bashing Islam.
Interestingly, in France, we have the largest population of Muslim in Europe, but we also have the largest population of Jew in the world. Sorry, in Europe.
In Europe, yeah. So it's quite balanced. Yeah. Then with that,
the money, the media, and the banks, and we have the numbers, but now that's it. You know?
Yeah. I see. With that kind of slander about Islam, but you guys, I mean, doing the project, Muslims project, as we know that becoming an event organizer is not an easy job. But becoming a Muslim event organizer for Muslim events is more an easy job to do. I mean, more than that, more what do you call it? It's harder. It's harder to do that kind of stuff. As we know that there's so many bad words about Islam and things like that. How do you guys manage that? And why do you guys choose that problems? I mean, if you could say it's problem, why do you jump into the problem that not many people choose that kind of project?
We don't really choose, Allah is the one who decides, and we try to escape. Allah slapped us. True story. So, well, when I became Muslim, I did a lot of dakwah, but I realized there's no support. There's no after sale. So people take the shahada, and then the Muslim has to do practically everything. It doesn't have a community. The first Quran I bought was a Shia Quran. So I was reading the Quran and they were insulted Aisha, and I was like, what's going on? So there's a lot of different pitfalls that a new Muslim can fall. And there have been statistics that after 3 years, 20-30% of new Muslims in the West are leaving Islam. Because it's very hard to sustain the pressure of Islamophobia. They're getting fired, their family disown them sometimes. So I thought, yes, I could have tried to become famous with my shahada. I know it's very trendy. I know there are a lot of new Muslims who are trying to do that. They even travel sometime to your country for this, but I didn't choose to do that. I thought I would rather support new Muslims who are struggling, because there's no point to do shahada and dawah if there is no a strong support system. So that's why we created New Muslim Care, and Zara, Masyaallah, she helped me a lot to set up. We created TV shows for Mualaf. We created retreats. We gave a New Muslim welcome gift to them. We're shipping them around the world. So we did that for 2 years.
Counseling, because a lot of them need help in finding their identity. When somebody becomes Muslim, they struggle with identity crisis, actually. Between culture and religion, and between self and Muslim and not Muslim, and they really struggle with that. So we were on the ground to really even coach one-on-one, small group. We did a buddy system to just help them, make them feel not so lonely, make them feel welcome and everything like that.
And the Christians are really good at that, by the way.
Yeah.
The Christians are really good. When you try to become Christians, I mean, the church I went to, they were taking care of me. They were picking me up every Sunday to the church. They were having a buddy who read the Bible with me, So, but most of the Muslims, there's a specific group, but they love to give you knowledge, like books to learn. They don't care about being your friend. They don't care to spend time with you. So we realized that what the converts need the most, the Mualaf need the most, is friends, is a real community where they can have iftar, and they don't need to travel around the world. Actually, in each country, they should be, and this is the job of the masjid, to provide that type of support. The problem is the masjid and the imam are not friends to take care of the Muslim. They don't understand them.
And I think it's really lacking nowadays, because Islam has always been a community-based religion or way of life, as we say. But nowadays, it's very individualistic. So it's all about the man and his wife, and then there's nothing else a lot of converts, they stick with their spouse and that's it. You know, they don't really mingle and they don't behave well in the society actually, because they are not integrated well, and then they become, actually some of them become extreme in their ideas because they don't mingle with the community that is that has been helping converts and somebody to talk to make sure you're on the right path.
You know, it's basically see Islam as a company. Allah is the boss. He hires people and he fires some. He fires. There are millions of Muslims leaving Islam every year, but there are millions of non-Muslims coming every year. So we have a big company, 2 billion staff, and the people who are coming, we don't care about them. We
put them in the basement park.
We put them in the basement park and say, okay, mashallah, you became Muslim now, goodbye. I have to leave. So this is why we are not performing as a ummah. I always say the new Muslim Mualaf, we are the new blood of the body. Yeah? We are new blood coming inside the body of the ummah. If this new blood doesn't move properly and doesn't perform properly, the ummah is going to get sick and the ummah is not going to perform. So,
and one of the things we also do in Malaysia, because a lot of Western converts come here from Europe, especially from Europe. So they come here and they become Muslim, and because they are usually amazed by the adab of the people of Nusantara, of Malaysia, Indonesia. So they become Muslim, and we try to teach them a little bit of the adab of the region, the Nusantara, which a lot of people actually praise. So we try to teach them about akhlaq and adab. Don't focus on knowledge first, because a lot of converts make the mistake of wanting to learn so much, and they break people's hearts, or they are rude, or they are not aware of how they conduct themselves, that is actually not well perceived by the society.
And then they become like a bida machine.
So we try to teach them the beauty culture of Nusantara. This is what we also want to do with Halis Media Nusantara, because we really want to teach the beauty of this region, because we are not racist, we're not discriminative, we're very welcoming. But at the same time, we also want our culture to be known and respected.
You see, a lot of people, they judge the Malays and the Indonesian for Islam. But in reality, I can tell you, I travel around the world, and it's not because my wife is Malay or you guys are Indonesian, but and the proof of that is Hajj and Umrah. Who is the race that is the nicest and the most, with the most adab during Hajj, which means who really conduct themselves the best, is the Malays and the Indonesians. And everybody knows that, by the way, in the Ummah. Everybody knows that. Like,
we've asked these questions.
I'm not the only one to say it. Many American converts, American speakers, scholars with millions of followers, they praise Malaysia, Indonesians for the adab. So that's why, like, the first thing you must learn as a convert is adab. It's not ilm.
And akhlaq.
No, and that's what the scholars are learning too. Bukhari, before becoming Bukhari, his mother insisted that he follow the sheikh for 10 years just to observe the adab. But now we're teaching the converts a bit of knowledge. As soon as they know a little bit, they start to judge the born Muslim. They start to say, what you're doing is bid'ah, what you're doing is haram. But the guy is still smoking, for example, or the guy is still earning money with haram means, but he's still judging you. You know, so this is what's happening now. And this is totally wrong. This is not how Islam should be taught. Even to our kids. What do we teach to our kids? Are we teaching ilm first or adab?
Manners. For the parents, for the kids.
It's the same for converts, you know, but so
converts should spend time with the Muslim community and to learn, because you can't learn adab and akhlaq from books. You have to learn from it.
You need to learn from someone. So this is the thing we've done. So just to make it short, we did New Muslim Care with an organization, and they didn't believe in the vision. So we thought, okay, we're wasting our time with them. We're gonna create our own organization, Halis Media, which means sincerity, pure in Turkish. And we wanted to mean Ikhlas Media. And we're going to do a film about converts from all over the world, 50 converts from 25 countries in 6 continents. And it was a big success around the world. and then we did a New Muslim World Conference with only convert speakers in UK, in Manchester, and also online. So we've done this project, and it was very much appreciated by the Ummah, and we got a bit tired with this because it's very difficult to handle converts, especially in this era of YouTube, where now a lot of people understood they can make a lot of views by becoming Muslims, and now we don't really know the sincerity of the people. So
because we've dealt with converts for almost 10 years, and we really see the difference between the old generation convert and the new generation. What we mean by new generation is as soon as you become Muslim, you become very famous, and there is a danger that comes with it from our own experiences. There's a lot of them who get fame instantly. They jump into a lot of things that is not correct. And it's definitely a difference because we've been handling converts for 10 years. It's really not the same.
It took me 1 year to declare my Shahada online. So I hide it for 1 year. Because when you become Muslim, there's a lot of shaitan coming to you. So you better be prepared, you know, it's not easy. You know, so it's very wise to wait a little bit. But now there are people who are non-Muslims. For months they make hundreds of videos about Islam. We don't know for what reason, and then they become Muslim, and suddenly they become almost like the porte-parole, comment on dit, spokesperson of the Ummah. I mean, the question is, who the freak are you? You know, like, I'm sorry, but who are you to now call out people who have been Muslim for generations? You know, and something we learned with the Ottomans is that when you were becoming a convert in the time of the Ottoman, you were not allowed to teach Islam only after one generation.
Only in the second generation.
Which means you have to let your generation pass, to let all your kids, so it has to sink in.
Thinking in the cell, thinking in the DNA, thinking in the adalah, then only the children or the grandchildren can teach.
But now you have converts, they become Muslim after 2 years and they start to make fatwa about a whole country, for example, or about ustaz who have been giving knowledge for years, and they come and they say this is wrong.
Like we acknowledge this issue because we've been in this scene, and it's really becoming a problem actually. A lot of new Muslim, non-Muslim are using Islam to get views and to use topics to get millions and millions of views, and we don't really know the legitimacy of those people.
So
and they use a lot of like clickbaits. You know, our Islam is not cheap.
Yeah.
It's not.
The problem is both converts have made Islam very cheap. Sometimes I see they put, I'm leaving Islam. When you click on the video, they don't leave Islam. It's just to get the views. And you and I, we are marketers. It's okay to have a nice title to get the people to watch what you do. But you cannot lie also. You cannot deceive the people just to get views. And so we still want to work with Mualaf, but we're going to be very selective. And the ones who don't have adab, I don't care how many millions of subscribers they have. I don't want to work with these people. I'm not interested with them. But the good ones, we still have to be there for them. Because being a Mualaf doesn't give you the right to be rude and disrespectful. You know?
Actually, we tried to solve this problem because we saw from our old service to the new ones, it's very different. So we tried to solve the problem. We flew in some converts to give them classes and give them community and give them a whole experience of history. Because a lot of the Muslims get tricked on their own history. As we say, if you don't learn your own history, the wrong ones are going to write it for you. So that's one of the focuses of Halis Media, is to teach history. So we tried, and it's really difficult because once fame has consumed someone, very rare.
Fame is like a poison. If you don't know how to handle it, it can really bite you by, you know.
Yeah. We've experienced a few, and now we just a bit traumatized.
But we to be honest, we didn't want to do anything of that. We moved to the jungle at some point. We wanted to live on our own, but then Allah put us back, and some people asked us to do some work, and we thought, okay.
So there are two kinds of mu'alaf, yeah. The one who lives for Islam and the one who lives from Islam.
Yes,
Exactly.
that you summarized it very well.
That's a very
Jadi teman-teman semua ya kadang-kadang jadi kayak star syndrome ya teman-teman semua ya. Kadang-kadang kalau misalnya jadi mualaf kan jadi terkenal. Pada saat terkenal kemudian banyak pengikut. Pada saat banyak pengikut kemudian memanfaatkan momen ketika terkenal tersebut kemudian banyak-banyakin pengikut. Nah itu dia. Ada juga yang memang kepengen jadi membesarkan Islam, tapi kemudian orang mengikuti karena apa yang dilakukan ini Masya Allah. Jadi memang kalau guru-guru dulu bilang adab sebelum ilmu, adab first and then ilmu. And then Masya Allah, you guys have so many work to do back then with some mualafs. And is there any experience that probably there are bad experience, there are good experience. Probably there are so many fighters out there that probably also work for Islamic project, and then there are some obstacles that probably they can face the same way like you guys. So is there any experience that probably the best experience and the worst experience that you had ever
With a convert.
with what?
with your project, with your conference and everything? You don't mention some names, but probably in just what do you call it? Some case.
The best experience is definitely when we made freedom.
Yeah.
When we were able to gather 50 converts from 25 countries speaking 15 different languages together to make a film that up until today there are people who are watching it every year.
And they all did it fisabilillah. Never asked for payment.
That's the thing. They didn't ask for payments.
They understood the mission. They understood the importance of that film, and they all gave their sincere.
Some of them were already famous.
Some of them.
But it was great because it's a type of film, even if we did it with Zara, when we watch it, after a few years, we still enjoy it and we still learn from it. It's a big boost of Iman, and I recommend, and soon we're going to translate it in Bahasa Indonesian for you guys, and hopefully we can work together to, spread it out. Because even for a born Muslim, it's a big boost of Iman to watch this type of thing. And of course, for Mualaf, it helps them to stay strong Muslim because they see 50 converts. It's a bit like the Avatar. The Avengers. Sorry, Avengers. It's a bit like the Avengers where you have 50 converts. Sometimes when you have 5 converts in a room, the vibe can be very strong. But imagine 50 for 90 minutes talking to you like this, because we shot like
25
this.
women,
25 women, 25 men, and
25 countries.
that was the best experience. New Muslim World Conference was great also in UK because we organized this from Malaysia. To be able to organize a conference from Malaysia in UK and get 1,000 people. UK is a bit the champion of dakwah. I would say it's one of the powerhouse of dakwah in the English-speaking world. They have a lot of resources, they have a lot of talent, and the fact that we're able to, to make that type of impact. It was broadcasted live on Islam Channel, which is the biggest British Muslim channel in UK. That was a big thing, and they were really amazed. We came up with that idea, and Malaysia was about to do it in 2020 with Tun Mahathir, the Prime Minister of Malaysia. He agreed to come, so we were able to put our work to a level where even Prime Minister of country look at what we're doing and they're like, you guys are part of the solution and we want to work with you. So we are blessed with this. And again, it's not from us. Allah is the one who make everything happen, and we just take our chances. And now we want to do Alismenia Nusantara because Zara speak all languages. Zara speak Malay, so we thought, and I want to learn Malay. She's been telling me, you should learn Malay. You guys interviewed a French sister, who speak Bahasa Indonesia, and I felt ashamed. Zara was saying like, you speak only a few words.
Perlu, mesti.
Harus. Kita mulai belajar pakai bahasa Malaysia kalau gitu ya. Mudah-mudahan si Julian bisa paham nih ya. Julian mengerti sebenarnya. Julian mengerti kalau kita bahasa Malaysia gini, mengerti dia.
Tidak mengerti langsung.
Oh, tidak mengerti langsung.
Moi, je parle français.
She speaks French. I speak Spanish, Portuguese, English, French. Not too bad.
He speaks
But,
4. He still speaks 4, but
Yeah,
Malay is not one of them.
because you know in Malaysia people speak English.
Yeah. I think if we would have lived in Indonesia, I think he would have been
Like my best friend, one of my best friend, he's Panamanian. He speaks Malay fluently, but when you go in a country in your 20s, like this French sister, I'm assuming the one you interviewed before, she's married to an Indonesian, and I think she's quite young. And when you learn in the 20s, it's okay. But me, I became Muslim 30,
and Malaysians speak English to him
all
the time. So he's like, I don't need it.
I don't need to survive. When I went to Brazil, nobody could speak English to me, so I forced myself to speak Portuguese because,
Like me with Turkey.
I wanted to eat,
I have to eat in Turkey.
So you can speak Turkey, Zara? You can speak Turkey? Is that
I
right?
speak a little in Turkey.
She's Masyaallah, she's good. She's good in languages.
I need to do groceries, bro.
Masyaallah. You guys, so you guys can manage the Turkish language, Malay, English.
So I
Portuguese?
speak
4 languages. Masyaallah. On y parle français maintenant?
Oui, c'est pas mal.
Je comprends pas, je peux parler français bien. Zara, sekarang kita dengar bagaimana kisah yang dijelaskan sama proyek kalian nih. Aduh, masya Allah ya, kita sepertinya perlu banyak belajar ya. Apalagi mungkin banyak sekali hambatan yang pernah terjadi gitu ya. Kalau kalian lebih banyak bergerak di Malaysia atau Turki atau di Prancis? I mean your projects more in Malaysia?
Global.
We are Osmanli.
No, Osmanli. So you mean what? So what are the family of Osmani ya?
Yeah, because bila kita sudah pindah berhijrah ke Turki, kami belajar banyaklah sejarah Turki dan khususnya sejarah Osmani, sejarah Islam. Jadinya bila kami belajar pasal sejarah Utsmaniyah panggil Utsmaniyah, no? In Indonesia, kerajaan Utsmaniyah, kita dapat tengok yang sebenarnya zaman sekarang dengan maksudnya multicultural, multi-race, multi-religious society sudah wujud dalam kerajaan Utsmaniyah. Dan sebenarnya model yang diorang langsungkan, model yang diorang tetapkan untuk seluruh kawasan kerajaan Utsmaniyah tu sebenarnya very much applicable for the world today. So model diorang tu memang ideal, and even for the French, macam orang Perancis yang datang Turki tengok dia punya seni, kesenian, kebudayaan, bukan sahaja orang-orang Turki sebenarnya, sebab kerajaan Osmani tu dia bukan untuk keturunan Turki, maksudnya they were really multi-religious, multicultural society. Yep. So in Turkey we spend a lot of time to mengkaji sejarah sebenarnya. Yeah. Sejarah Ahli Sunnah wal Jamaah, sejarah kerajaan Osmaniyah, sejarah apa yang terjadi kepada family Ottoman dynasty.
We basically go wherever there's an invitation or permission to go. We are also very attracted to South America because I always say this is the last continent really where Islam needs to be spread.
Where is that?
South America.
South America, yeah.
So Brazil, Argentina, Islam is not well spread and known, and the people there, they are 500 million. So it's maybe 2 times the size of the population of Indonesia, not being Muslim, and they don't like so much anymore Christianity. So there's a big opportunity.
And actually Islamophobia di Amerika Selatan sangat kurang.
Not so much.
Yeah, not so much. Why also? Because sebenarnya because we spend a lot of times with converts and studying Islamophobia cases and sources and how to solve it, and That's why we do freedom and all these conferences to also help with Islamophobia. And one of the reasons that we discovered as the punca of Islamophobia is actually daripada Muslim itu sendiri. Muslim yang ekstrim dalam fikiran, dalam fikrah, dalam tata cara dari segi adab, itu yang sebenarnya membuatkan orang non-Muslim tak suka pada Islam. Sebenarnya. It's not because they are not aware of Islam. Okay, the media does do the propaganda, it's true. But a lot of the cases, the Islamophobia is coming from the Muslims themselves who don't practice Islam properly.
Yeah, I think Islam, many says that Islam is perfect, but Muslims is not.
Yeah, exactly. Muslims are not perfect.
Many of Muslims don't really practice the Islam as a Muslim on Muslim life. Sometimes probably that's why probably the judgment from outside Muslim thought that probably this is how Islam look like. Probably that's because there's so many. I mean, the education of the Muslim is not really spread really well outside outside on the environment of non-Muslim majority. So, how do you guys find it so far? The progress on South America about
the
Islam.
documentary
about Islam. I mean, the South America about Islam. How do they find Islam
in South America or around the world?
Yeah, but I mean, around the world or on South America or around the world. How do you find it so far?
It's like this. We know we are in Akhiru Zaman, so there are a lot of challenges. A lot of people are leaving Islam. This is true. Especially in the Arab world, also in this region, especially among the youth. There are a lot of people who have become atheists. They don't want to say it, but it's the reality. How I know that? Because some of my friends, they work in school as teachers or directors, and they tell me this is really bad. So at the same time, there are many Muslims, many non-Muslims, especially in the West, who are becoming Muslims. So Islam is always good. It's what the Muslims are doing about it, and we always say the Muslims are not practicing or good enough. But the main reason is because they don't have a mission. They don't have a real reason to practice. You know. It's like you learn martial arts for 10 years and you know you're never going to compete. Yeah. What's the point? Yeah. Also, at the end of the day, when you have a mission like the Ottomans, which is very clear, is to bring Islam all over the world for justice and truth, it's very easy to practice, because if you don't practice, just to give an example, Sultan Abdulhamid, the last great Sultan that ruled the Ottoman Empire and the whole Muslim world, the last ruling Sultan, he used to pray Sunnah prayer all the time. And we know it's not so easy for everyone, including ourselves. We're not always doing it. But he said, if I don't pray Sunnah prayer, you can stop to obey me and you can not follow me. Sunnah prayer.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So when he wake up in the morning, he doesn't touch the ground before making on the Tayamun.
Sultan Abdul Hamid is never without wudu.
Never. He step on the ground as a servant of Allah.
The moment he wakes up, he does Tayamun, and then when he walks to the source of water, he would take wudu. Before going to bed, always on wudu.
So why I'm giving you those two examples? Because he has a mission. If he has not wudu on him all the time, if he's not praying his sunnah, he is under attack by the whole world. He cannot afford, subhanallah, one day someone came to his office to tell him he had a dream about the Prophet ﷺ. And in the dream, the Prophet said, our beloved didn't send his salawat to me, to us. And the Sultan could not believe, because yes, it's true, the day before he forgot one time. You know what I mean?
One time before he fell asleep. Why he forgot is because he worked so hard, he fell asleep on his table. And he forgot to salawat. And then the next day, there's a random man coming to him saying he dreamt of Rasulullah ﷺ. telling that man that tell the Sultan, our Hamid forgot his salawats last night, and seek what you want from him. And then Sultan Abdul Hamid felt so guilty. He paid the debt of the person who was went bankrupt of business. He said, "What's your debt?" And then he paid.
So this is our role model, which is 100 years ago. Of course, the Prophet ﷺ is our main role model, but we're talking about a man who was alive last century, you know, and the Muslims are not practicing anymore because they are not anymore carrying any mission, any duty. So it's just a bunch of rituals. Okay, Ramadan, Zakat, Hajj, but why we are doing all this? You know, when you go to Hajj, is to also network and meet some people to make Islam grow. Not only because you want to do ibadah in a selfish way, you know. When you perform, when you are doing Ramadan, is to share your wealth, to share your time, to serve the other servant of Allah, the other Muslims, is to, you know, not only do rituals, you know, but now we have been, Islam is bigger than a religion. Deen, lakum dinukum waliya din. Deen means a way of life. So we boxed Islam into a bunch of ritual, which is now becoming only a religion, which is not. Islam is bigger than a religion. It's a way of life, and you must find a mission. So, for example, you're doing a lot of good things with your wife. You have conferences. Nothing stopped thousands of Indonesians to even give you more support. To, you know, after watching this podcast we're doing, what's the point?
Yeah.
If they're not more engaged, sharing your work, at least sharing what you're doing and offering to support you, you know, same. So there are many organizations like ours or yours. So it's up to everybody, especially in this Ramadan, to not leave Ramadan without being attached to something that will serve the Ummah. For example, taking care of orphans. But if you don't have something of service
and of consistency, I think
consistency,
even if it's little, consistency is really, Allah loves the deed that is small but consistent. A lot of times the Muslim Ramadan, oh, you see so many people Tarawih, Eid even more, and in Fajr nobody shows up. It's really a high in Ramadan. But then actually, from Ahl Sunnah's point of view, Ramadan is the harvest month. Is to reap your fruits, but actually where you plant the seed is already Rajab. Then Sha'ban is when you work on the plants, and then Ramadan is to harvest the fruits. But lots of the Muslims now, Ramadan is the time to berpulung-pulung.
Yeah, Ramadan is only an event.
The community is there only Ramadan, but then after that there's no community. So this is what we're trying to do with our projects, is to create consistency in network, in support, convert support, in community-based activities like charity and stuff like this. So we try to make people feel Islam is a way of life, and Islam is very much alive. It's not something that is separate, because that's how the secular work. Religion is in the other side. You pray, but then when you work, when you do your day-to-day life, Islam has nothing to do with that.
Every Muslim is born with a mission, with something to do. It's not like we are special or you're special. No. Every Muslim that is listening to this podcast, they must understand they are very powerful people. They can do a lot of things, and there's no excuse. You must tap inside yourself, ask Allah in this Ramadan, oh Allah, I want to serve you, show me how to do it the best. According to what you gave to me. Some women, they cook fantastically and they brought many people to Islam. Just by cooking. So it's not only doing podcasts, and that's one of the way, or conference is one of the way, but there are a lot of things you can do, and many do, and we are not aware. But too many Muslims are on the bench watching the show. You must be involved in your community, and you must do things, and ideally with the right guidance, with a sheikh or a Muslim leader that channel your potential to the best way, because there are also a lot of Muslims who do a lot of things, but you know, there's in the Quran, in Surah Kaf, chapter 18, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, they will be the ones that are doing a lot of things, but they will find out what they're doing that was not good. So we assume it's the Christians, but it's also an ayat for us, you know? So doing a bunch of stuff without hidayah, proper guidance is also not the right way. So I would say the priority is find the right leadership. And then once you find it, then you can do something that is going to be beneficial, and then you can practice Islam, you know?
Well, I think there are so many challenges still, yeah, about the ummah, about the ukhuwah, that as we know that Muslims, I mean the main thing about Islam or Muslims is the same. How do they do salat and do the wajib is the same, but there's some kind of probably a bit differences that probably on the furu, and then sometimes in Islam there are more discussing about the unnecessary things than becoming that difference is becoming something big, as we know that it is not the essence. So is there any ideas from you guys probably how to make this communication happen among Muslims, I mean among Islam, among different kind of element of Islam? How do we can make the communication become in one narration, one good narration? Well, in Indonesia there is differences about the Nadatul Ulama, there's a Muhammadiyah, there's a Jamaah Tabligh, there's many differences, but we're actually we are in the same shahada. We're in the same shahada. What probably some details that are a bit different, but sometimes we are more focusing on the different other than the similarity. So do you have any idea how to make this communication works?
Well,
that's a very good question.
It's a good question, and
because that is a big problem.
It's a big problem for everybody in the world, yeah.
Find how things can work. We have to look at the ones who made it work.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the closest in time? And the biggest legacy is the Ottomans. That's why we keep on insisting on the Ottoman. Of course, we are learning from the Sahaba. We are learning from the first dynasties. But the closest to us, and also the ones who brought Islam to your regions, are the Ottomans, right? So at the end of the day, we have to look at what they did. You know, it's 600 years.
It's easier to imagine because
Yeah.
when it's too far back, when you don't have a visual, it's very hard.
It's 600 years of success. So we have to look at what they did, and we have to look also at what the enemies of Islam did when they destroyed the Khalifa. When they destroyed the Muslim Empire, what they did first. What the first thing they did is to destroy all the Jamaat. So in Turkey they call it tarikats, and
They killed all the saints.
They got rid of all the
sheikhs,
So what happened is that on top of having no more leader, political, economical leader like a sultan, you have no more spiritual leader. So the Muslim Ummah has become orphan. And then what happened? Many groups start to emerge. Some were good, some were not so good, and some were literally created by the enemies.
I see.
Yeah.
The same enemy that brought down the empire.
So the first thing we have to look at, and yes, you're right, we're all under the same shahada. But the Prophet ﷺ said also there will be 73 sects in Islam and only one is accepted, only one is correct. So this question, I didn't, and it's a mistake, I didn't really ponder too much about that for my first 10 years as a Muslim. But when COVID started, I had a bit of time on my hand and I realized, wait a minute, am I upon the right path myself? Because I thought, I'm a mainstream convert, I take a bit of everybody and I make a cocktail.
Salad bowl must
you know, and I pour and I test it, it tastes good, but every time I pour it tastes different, you know? So then I realized, okay, who is the one who can guide me the most to the closest form of Islam that is pleasing Rasulullah Sallallahu. Let's not forget that he praised Sultan Fatih when he liberated Istanbul. So if the Prophet Sallallahu praised an Ottoman Sultan, it means the Ottomans are doing quite okay. to follow the proper Islam. And then you just have to look how they dealt with things, including with converts. You know, including with converts.
That's what we said. The model, the closest model to multicultural, multi-religious, multi-race society that uses shariat and akhlaq and adab is the Ottomans. And actually, when we were not living in Turkey, we didn't really understand the history truly. Actually, we even read very bad things about the Ottoman, because a lot of the things that you will see online about the Ottomans are written by Orientalists. So a lot of lies have been created around this by the enemies. So the Muslims forget their glorious history, glorious past. So then you don't want to have that desire to be glorious again. And this is what we're trying to do. We want to revive that. Hey, we were like winners. You know, we were in the winning team, you know, the Muslims. So we try to, especially for the youth now, it's like you used to have sultans who would do this and this and that, the princes that would do this and this and that. So, and it's not too far back. So we try to create real life ummah heroes that people can relate to, because once you have a role model, because it's very hard when you can't imagine too far back. Yes, people say, okay, Fatima is my model, you know, Aisha is my Khadija is my model. But you can only read the seerah, but you can't really imagine, because you know, unless you're connected somehow. But with the Ottomans, because they are, and you're not Arab,
it's like this, to put it in a way, Ottoman is the best brand. If you take it as a brand, and I'm gonna make my case. We're talking about South America, right? When we visited the Makam of Ertugrul Dirilis, you watched the show, and I think it's popular in Indonesia. Ertugrul. There was a family from Chile who came out of Chile to Sogut, which is a small village in the middle of Turkey, where Ertugrul is buried. And I asked them, non-Muslim Christian, and asked them, are you here because of Ertugrul, the TV show? And they say, yeah, we are fans. So what does it tell you? Some people from Chile, which is, by the way, the most educated South American country, you know, they have the highest education, they have the highest economy in South America. They came all over the way to Turkey, not to Istanbul, but to Sogut, which is the place, because they love Ertugrul, and for them is a champion, and they love his adab, is a passion for justice and truth.
And honor.
So it's the first time.
Even non-Muslim realized that the Ottomans came with a lot of honor. Ertugrul came with a lot of honor. The
president of Venezuela, Maduro, came on the set in Turkey. A president of a South American country came in Turkey because he's a fan of the series. So what does it tell you? The world, the non-Muslim around the world, when they watch Ottoman, even though it's a bit of fiction, but there's truth in the story. They love it because why? It's encompassing all the values that is fit to live together. And it also encompasses values of being a real man, you know, and this is lacking in the Ummah. And if we have only 5 more minutes, that's what I want to talk about. Because you cannot make Islam grow with the current situation among the men. A lot of Muslim men are just mommy's boys, and they are not stepping up. And this is the fact. So we have to address that, and this is why we see women emerging, especially in Malaysia. I mean, women are very, very strong. And I'm sure it's the case in Malaysia, which is good. We're going to create strong children. But the current generation, the boys are not taking charge. They are not taking responsibility enough. And it's not necessarily the fault, but we have to address that issue. And they need to have the right role model. So when they watch Ertugrul at 7 years old, and they say, oh, this is the model that I should be like, someone who fight for justice, someone who fight for truth, who is a real man.
Fight for the oppressed.
You know, but we don't have what type of, now they are following the football players, you know? It's not the best, for me, they are not real men, if you're asking me. Because what is a real man is someone who takes care of his responsibility. A real man is someone who takes care of his family, of his responsibility, and of the gift that Allah gave to him. So we are far from this. So we have to kind of reconnect the young men to the true potential. And you can't really do that in the cities.
Even in Nusantara, we have a lot. We had heroes that fought for independence, for people to remain Muslim, actually.
Mat Kilau, I don't know if it's popular in Indonesia, but it was a big blockbuster in Malaysia.
Islam could have been wiped out when the colonialists came to colonize our countries, and Islam could have been wiped out. But there were a lot of panglima pahlawan yang lawan kuasa tu untuk remain the Islam in the region. Actually, it's because of their fighting spirit and because of their passion to fight for the oppressed and fight for Islam that we are still Muslim. It didn't just go away. Because Philippines, if you see Philippines, the Spanish converted everybody. And they were Muslims. The whole entire Philippines were Muslims. But now, But Malaysia and Indonesia still majority, because we had panglima-panglima and pahlawan yang melawan untuk kekalkan Islam di tanah Melayu dan tanah Nusantara lah maksudnya. So we have to look at this type of heroes, you have to have role models as Muslims, and ideally somebody who's not too far back. So then it's more relatable.
So in the case of Malaysia, I'm sure you have in Indonesia, but you have Mat Kilau, who is big blockbuster, and I watched the film, and guess what? It was #1 on Netflix in even Cyprus.
In Israel.
In Europe. Yeah.
It's true. It was #1 in Israel.
Oh, really?
At some point,
So this is the type of project that can wake up people, but it's just a waking up. Then after that, you have to live the life, and you can live like Mat Kilau or even Ertugrul, providing you have a community and a mission, and you're doing something about it. You're not,
But we're not propagating for you to fight.
No.
What we're saying is you have to do it with what you in your own capacity. Amal ma'ruf nahi munkar lah, but not in a judging way. So there is a very thin line between helping spread the good and not judging. And this is why you need a guide. You need a wisito guru, to really teach you the thin line between not judging and between doing good.
Mashallah, we just want to say we're less than 2 hours before we start our Ramadan here in Malaysia, and Allah is blessing us with a rain.
Big rain now.
Very nice rain, so we are, inshallah, very excited to start Ramadan very soon, and Allah is giving the countdown.
What is your preparation in this Ramadan?
We are launching 2 YouTube channels. We have Alice Media, which is in English, Arabic. We have Alice Media Francophone, which is in French. And I was surprised to find out there's 200 million Muslim who speak French as the first or second tongue. So it's a big statistic, because we are 300 million speaking French all over the world, and 2% out of 3 is a Muslim. So the biggest language, the one who speaks the most French in the world are actually Muslim. So we have a channel, and we want to launch Alice Media Nusantara. We
do content in Bahasa Melayu.
Every day we want to release stories about Mualaf. We made some show in the past. We want to broadcast again. So that's the biggest challenge.
I think, again, talking about community, we want the Nusantara people to connect with each other, because we are same people. We have the same religion, we have the same roots. I'm Bugis, for example. My family came from Aceh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Bugis. Bugis is Sulawesi, and then
dari
Bugis and Aceh. Makassar. Oh, Masyaallah.
So that's also the dream we have in Nusantara, to kind of connect the people in this region, so we can do things together, we can do good things, great things together, and be proud of our, roots. Because, I think some Western people tend to look down on Nusantara people and try to, you know, they have this type of attitude, orang putih. As we say, macam rasa bagus sangat bila datang sini macam, oh ni salah, tu salah, you kena buat macam ni, macam tu. So, and that happened with also Western converts who come to our region and they try to lecture us on how to practice our Islam. And I think we as Nusantara people, we can stick together and we should really be proud of our roots because there's so many things to be proud about.
Well, actually, that's the reason why Allah created us in the different differences, different countries, different languages, different cultures, and things like that. So, Allah wants us to be doing some silaturahmi. Yeah, we know each other, we met each other, and respect each other. That's what Muslims supposed to do. Mashallah, this conversation is many inspiration that came from this conversation. I hope that we could do this conversation directly, not buying online. Probably someday you visit Indonesia, just let me know. Probably if you visit Malaysia like the other day, I would let you know. Then there's some Venita send the message. Cannot join the rest conversation, but look forward to meeting you guys in Indonesia sometimes.
To come to Indonesia, we're also gonna perform our Umrah again. We did it in January. We're gonna stay 4 days in Saudi Arabia this Ramadan, inshallah, before returning to Turkey. But if we have the chance, and it's depending on your subscribers and if you feel Nusantara is growing, we're coming. It depends on the love, you know.
We usually go where the signs take us.
We feel the love, we raise love.
If there is love from we'll go there.
Inshallah.
Maka teman-teman semua ya langsung aja di follow, di subscribe ya, ini channel YouTube dari saudara kita ini, gabungan antara Prancis dan juga Malaysia ini, di support yang banyak, biar juga nanti kita bisa bertemu secara langsung teman-teman semuanya. Bagaimana pejuang dakwah yang ada di luar negeri ini juga butuh support dari kita semuanya. Support YouTube-nya itu Halis Media Nusantara. Atau teman-teman ingin menjadi kontributor mereka juga nggak ada masalah, tinggal connect aja. Mereka semua sangat welcome. Waduh, luar biasa. Zara, Julien ini mudah-mudahan menjadi wasilah hidayah untuk many people, for banyak orang di Indonesia, insya-Allah. Sampai ketemu teman-teman semuanya, sampai ketemu lagi. Jika dirasa ini bermanfaat, monggo silakan di-share sebanyak-banyaknya dan juga follow sosial media mereka, dan juga jangan lupa untuk tetap menjalankan ibadah puasa, itu yang lebih utama. Sampai ketemu lagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.